is this Chapel Bell Curve? We're like Chapel Bell Curve. You're like channeling Nathan right now and reading poetry. This is amazing. Welcome to My God a Podcast. I'm Jim Wood. In this episode, John Powell and I preview the 2021 edition of the Deep South's oldest rivalry. And we also answer questions from you, our listeners. As always, remember to check out store.mygodapodcast.com to see our latest merch. And you can follow us on social media at My God a Podcast. Finally, if you like what you hear, please subscribe, rate, 5 stars obviously, and review the show. If you leave us a review, you just might hear it on an upcoming episode. Now, let's join the conversation in progress.
Jim, what are you drinking tonight?
So I've got some Old Forester. The Old Forester, I already forgot which one I have. 1920. The 1920, I had to look it up because I knew I had a picture of it. I just posted a picture of it and tagged Bobby Wilson. So cheers to Bobby. It's Bobby's birthday today as we're recording here on Monday. So cheers, Bobby.
Cheers, Bobby. I've got the 1792 Full Proof.
Oh, nice.
It is a hearty 125 proof for you, Bobby.
You got to do it right on Bobby's birthday. I've got Old Elk on standby in case I need a refill during the episode. So
I'm going to have to get some of that at some point.
It's good. I enjoy that as well.
Do you got the clear ice, though?
No, I have spherical ice, but it's not clear. I'm running low on the clear ice. I think I have one. I might have one block left, so I think I might make some of that this weekend.
See, Bobby, I've got the clear ice for you. We're doing it right. We're doing it right here. Well, we've got.
Before we get to the game, before we get to what's ahead, I feel like we need to very briefly defend ourselves from our children and the lies that they were telling at the end of our Arkansas review.
There were some lies.
Yeah, lies were told. We couldn't hear everything while it was going on because they had their headphones in, so we could only hear our kids. So it definitely was an adventure editing it like I thought it would be, and it's pretty hilarious. So I do not yell at my children during football games, as Lily said. I yell at the television like a normal person. So I just wanted to be clear on that. And I also do not kick them out of the room. Although Kim pointed out what she thinks Lily is talking about. What I have done for sure is they'll be watching, some random Barbie
YouTube
movie
video,
or something.
Yeah.
On because they love trash movies that they watched when they were a kid, when they were younger kids, right? So they'll be watching some lame something on the TV that I want to watch the game on. So I for sure have been at 3:30, this is my TV.
Exactly.
So I have done that.
Which is your right as the Lord of the Manor.
That's right. That's right.
You claim your seat. You have your seat. You have your remote, and you have your TV.
Exactly. So lies were told. I just had to stand up for myself.
There's lies. There's lies, and then there's damn lies. So Carter had said something similar, that he hadn't been to a tailgate before, which is just absolutely maybe it's just been so long because COVID and all that stuff that he's just forgotten.
Lily was saying that she hadn't been to a Georgia game or a tailgate in 5 years, which I don't think that's right either. I'm trying to think of when it was, but I don't think it was 5 years ago.
Just goes to show you when we drop kids on the podcast live, spur of the moment. There's no telling what comes out of their mouths.
Right. So now we know. What we could be walking into. Okay, so now we can turn to what you were going to say.
Well, now we're going to look to Saturday, where we're going to venture out to the prettiest little city on the plains or whatever it is.
Okay.
Whatever. It's doing an injustice. Let's see, what was it? The loveliest village on the plains is where we're headed. It's so this is a line that's taken from the poem "The Deserted Village" by Oliver Goldsmith. and it's talking about sweet Auburn, loveliest village of the plain.
Okay. Okay. So yeah, I couldn't remember that.
Which I guess is also how they get the plainsmen, I think, if
I
I
guess,
recall
and
correctly.
I was gonna do some research about that today, and then I forgot because like they can't decide what their mascot is. The explanation I have heard is that they are the Tigers, that the tiger is their mascot, and that War Eagle is not another mascot; it is the battle cry. That's what that's what they try to say, but I say whatever. Like you have three mascots, make up your mind. Um,
Yes. Yes,
we've
I did do some of that research.
Oh, nice.
The War Eagle is the battle cry.
Yeah, so I knew that one.
Little bit of know your enemy. But do you know how that came about, Jim?
I mean, the legend has it something around like there was an eagle that flew over the stadium for a game, right?
Not just any game.
Oh, was it a Georgia game?
It was the Georgia game. Yeah.
Ugh, ugh, ugh.
So
Specific.
the first time that these two teams met, way back in 1892, um, there was an eagle that was I'll say allegedly. There's like three different
Yeah, yeah,
stories.
yeah.
This one is like my favorite one because of how it ends. So I guess that there was a soldier that was in town for the game that had an eagle, which I guess is like something that soldiers did back then, is bring home eagles
Naturally.
from war. So there was an eagle at the stadium, and I guess that at some point the eagle broke loose and was soaring around the stadium, and it just so happened to soar around during a time period when Auburn marched to score, and I guess
Okay.
they won the game or something. I don't really remember
If it was
the
the
details.
very first one, they did win that game. Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess that the eagle was soaring when that kind of started, like to end the game. However, I guess the eagle like decided to like nosedive, and it like fell and like literally flew into the ground and died.
I thought in my head I was thinking like someone shot it or something. I couldn't
No,
remember. I felt like it died, but I didn't realize that part.
that's how they get the plainsmen was and the littlest village comment is from that poem by Oliver Goldsmith, and then the war eagle is from that that fateful journey that eagle took, which I can only
Right.
imagine as a veteran what that must have been like. Like your eagle just flew into the ground, dude.
Well, and that also was not that was a neutral site game. So that
It was
first one
in
was played. It was in Atlanta.
Piedmont Park.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm not sure where the tiger came from. I don't know that I got that far in my research.
Everyone in the SEC is a tiger. Like there's like so many tigers.
Yes.
So since we're talking about the olden days, yeah. So that 1892, that was the first game. That's why they call it the Deep South's oldest rivalry. Um, the interesting thing, and I'm sure I knew this at some point, but I'd forgotten it. We actually had never played at Auburn until 1960. So
Hmm.
every game before that had either been at a neutral site or there had been a handful in Athens. It looks like the series switched to home and home in '59. So in '59 it was at Georgia, and then in '60 it was at Auburn, and then it started went to kind of normal home and home. So that was interesting. And then we talked about this at length last year. That with the SEC expanding again and the reshuffling of schedules, et cetera, that this game is now much earlier in the season. So this is only the second time since 1936 that this game will be played outside of the month of November. So yeah, and the first time being last year, right? Because we played in October last year as well. So it's a big shift. Although last week I was saying we all needed to get over the noon kickoff because that's kind of the new way of things. So I'm going to say that to myself about this game not being in November anymore, and I just need to get over it. Although I will hold out hope that maybe something can change when the schedule adjusts again when Texas and Oklahoma join. the conference, maybe this game can get back to its rightful place. Just seems weird to me.
So I do have a point of clarification. The tiger nickname also comes from that poem by Oliver Goldsmith. There's a line in the poem where it says, "Where crouching tigers wait their hapless prey."
Okay, man. So we're reading poetry. Is this Chapel Bell Curve? We're like Chapel Bell Curve. You're like channeling Nathan right now and reading poetry. This is amazing.
I am channeling Nathan. I guess I was inspired somewhat when I started reading this.
That's hilarious. So a few things just kind of like for the setting, right? So 3:30 p.m. Kick. We are on CBS this week, although it is not like the game of the week. So it's a part of a doubleheader. So like, you know, the A crew will be doing the night game after ours. So you got Bama at A&M on CBS at 8 o'clock. So we have Noah Eagle on play-by-play, and it's a 3-man booth. So the analysts are Rick Neuheisel and Aaron Murray. So Aaron Murray will be on the call with Jenny Dell as the sideline reporter.
Listen, Jim, I feel like somewhere along the lines we got this great 3:30 kickoff. Mm-hmm. How the hell did we end up with Rick Neuheisel as on the call? Like,
yeah,
I would almost prefer Beth Mowens.
Yeah,
almost.
At least we get Aaron. I'm not sure that I've ever watched a game when Aaron called us and been like listening. So we'll have to see how that goes. And then we get the A crew next week with Kentucky because that is the game of the week. The official hashtag that we now mention every week is hashtag UGA versus AUB for UGA versus Auburn. That's the hashtag. Weather looks like it's going to be sunny day, clear skies, low of 61, high of 81. So it looks like it's going to be a beautiful day on the plains. Auburn is coming in 4-1 on the season. Only loss is at Penn State in that whiteout game, and they are ranked 18th in the AP poll. And then just a couple things about the series. So all time, we do lead the series now, 61 wins, 56 losses, and 8 ties. It's kind of crazy. Like the series definitely took a turn. Like back when we were in school, it was like tied. At one point, I remember being in college and like we were separated by like less than 10 points scored all time between each other. So not sure what's happened to that at this point, but we're on a 4-game win streak. We're 8-2 in our last 10 against these guys, and we're 15-5 in our last 20 against them. And our last time we lost to them at Auburn, our last loss to them was at Auburn in that 2017 season. So have not lost to them since.
That was a tough one.
It was.
Yeah, and I feel like that there was a stretch there where it was like home field advantage was non-existent in this rivalry. Like,
yes, for sure.
They would come to us and we would come to them, and like it basically just didn't matter. Although,
yeah, like the road team was winning every year for a while, right?
Right. But obviously things have taken a turn here as of late. Yeah,
for sure. You want to hit some news and notes? I got a couple of things. I don't have a ton, but I got a few things. So from Kirby's availability, I guess the big question is around JT. He did say JT Daniels was not throwing today, but he was going to be getting mental reps. So for whatever that's worth, JT got some mental reps today.
Mental reps.
Yeah. So I don't know. I didn't really hear much about it. I will say I'm kind of going in. My mindset is just going to be that Stetson's the guy this week. And that way, if JT goes out there, it'll be like, hey, bonus. You know, like that's my thought.
So he did say in the in one of the pressers, I'm not sure if it was the presser today or what, but in one of the pressers he mentioned one of the poor reporters, I don't know who it was, made the comment that they had done research on the injury. It was like, oh,
I didn't see
Lord,
that.
here we go, buddy. It's like as soon as he asked, he's like, well, how long does the injury take to heal? Tell us, please share with the group.
I think it was Anthony Dasher.
Poor bastard.
I'm pretty sure it was.
That's
and
awesome.
Then Seth opened his question today with like, I can't remember what he asked, but it wasn't about the quarterback. He's like, don't worry, I've got a quarterback question later. And Kirby was like, I'm really worried or something like that. It's like, oh my gosh. Like, he's been all over them lately.
Oh, man. In his little explanation, the guy said 3 weeks was the normal like turnaround time on an injury like that. And there's different grades or whatever. And so Kirby like went into that and was like, he was like, Ron can give you a 2-hour dissertation on it, about the different grades or whatever. So he did indicate that he was a week and a half into that 3 weeks, which tells me that we are most likely not going to see JT Daniels suiting up for the red and black until the Florida game.
Yeah, that's kind of what I've got in my head. That's for me, like for my mental state, like that's kind of when I'm counting on him being back. And then if he gets back early, before then that would be gravy for me, for sure.
Can we like put Stetson in some bubble wrap? I don't know.
Yeah, seriously. So on the receivers, Kirby did say about Dominic Blaylock, Roseby Jack-Saint, and Marion Smith, that all three are much closer this week than they were last week, but they're not definite. That was his commentary there. I didn't listen to the whole thing. I only listened to a little bit of it, so I don't know if he threw in the word hopeful or not. Who knows?
No, he didn't.
Okay. He also said around Tyke Smith, he said that he is not 100%. Although I did see, there was media viewing today, as somebody, I don't know, it was probably Seth, I'm guessing, said that he did see Tyke out there practicing. So for whatever that's worth. So we'll see. And then just a note, Devontae Wyatt was named the SEC Defensive Lineman of the Week. I think much deserved for his performance against Arkansas.
Agreed.
And I've got a couple of things from Auburn. So a couple of Auburn things. So from Brian Harson's press conference today. So on Owen Peppo, like star linebacker for them. He didn't play last week. And he said that he hopes, I hope he does this week. It comes down to game time. So it sounds like he's going to be a game time decision this week. And then also about Tank Bigsby. So I don't know about you. Like I didn't watch all of the LSU game, LSU Auburn last week, but I had it on. And definitely late in the game, I was noticing that Tank Bigsby was not in there. Looked like he was limited. So he had limited, like load management or something, had limited carries last week. And so Harsin was asked today if Bigsby was dealing with an injury, and his reply was, Tank is fine. So I don't know. Sounds like he's hopeful that Tank is okay. If I were to translate it into Kirby speak. But the guy, so his backup, Jarquiz Hunter, was named SEC co-freshman of the week this week. And then, believe it or not, Bo Nix was co-offensive player of the week this week. So that's what I got for news and notes.
Yeah, the interesting thing about that Jarquiz, everybody talks about Tank, but he's their leading rusher.
Jarquiz is?
Jarquiz is their leading rusher. He's also averaging 11 yards a carry.
Yeah, he is their leading rusher. Okay, oh wow. Okay, so I had pulled up something. I guess he's not leading in attempts, but he's leading in yards, and yeah, his average is crazy. Yeah, they definitely split the load against LSU. It was fairly even, and neither of them they didn't do much on the ground against LSU. I did notice that, but yeah, it's interesting. So on before we get into analyzing the sides of the ball, we did get a listener question that I kind of wanted to talk about first, just around the environment. And it's from 51-7 GATA. So he said, with this being the first true road test since November 16th, 2019, also at Auburn, could you see that being an issue? So I kind of did a double take when I read it. So a couple of things to point out, right? Like, because you could say, well, they played at Alabama last year, but last year, stadiums were a quarter full. So really just the thought process being, for sure, obviously for freshmen, it's the first true road game, but even for sophomores, right? It's the first true road game in a full hostile environment, the full stadium. The other thing that I love, just one thing to point out here, is that he's going back to November 16th, 2019. We did play at Georgia Tech in 2019 after that. I just love that wasn't considered either, which, I mean, agreed, but I just wanted to put that out. So I'll be honest, like, it's not something I had thought of a whole lot until he said this, asked this question. I mean, we were at the game in Charlotte, right? I mean, definitely not the same, right? Because it was, like we talked about, it was pretty close to 50-50. It was loud. It was obviously, not like a home game. And obviously we're discounting Vanderbilt, right? As a hostile environment. So yeah, I mean, it is the first like true hostile environment for the freshmen, for sure. And then even you could say for the sophomores.
Well, I mean, it definitely had something, it definitely impacted the Arkansas game. However, I mean, these guys are, at this point, most of this roster has played for, all the marbles basically. So
yeah,
I'm thinking that Kirby and those guys are that will be the least of our problems, in my opinion, because how dialed in they have been thus far. Maybe on the offensive side, there might be some question marks there because of some of the depth, some of the depth items. But again, Stetson has seen it all. Most of the offensive line has seen it all. But I'm not. I mean, some of the wide receivers, obviously, the younger guys, maybe not so much. But I don't know. Environment. I think in this case is not necessarily going to matter. And frankly, I think it's really going to come more down to how big of a man Auburn is, to borrow their own phrase.
Right.
Yeah, that's ultimately how.
Definitely, yeah. First test of the season for sure. But I think ultimately, yeah. I mean, you're 100% right. Like, we definitely impacted Arkansas. And Kirby credited the fans with 10 points. So for what that's worth. But that was like really their first time on the big stage for like all of them, right? Like for the whole team. And that's certainly that's not the case here. It will be for some of them, but I think we've got enough veteran leadership to calm any nerves that may be there. So I won't say that it will be like a non-factor, but it's not going to be like Arkansas coming into Athens.
Let's not forget that this team also rolled into Charlotte and played Clemson.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, for sure. And like it was 50-50, but it was hostile. Like that game was basically loud the whole time.
Right.
Like it just never got quiet when for either team.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay. Well, you want to talk a bit about our offense and their defense? Let's start there.
Our offense, their defense. Got it.
So
you go first.
Okay, so I just had a few things noted down. So like one, again, I'll repeat myself. I'm assuming that we're gonna be going with Stetson, right? So I'm just assuming that's the game plan. I definitely I was very pleased to see what I think has been termed as the reinvigorated run game that we saw against Arkansas. I think a lot of that had to do with the defense that Arkansas was in. But again, that's great for, like on this podcast, our offensive philosophy has basically been, or what we want to see is take what the defense gives you, right? And that's what they were giving us. They were dropping back, saying we're not going to let you throw deep on us and daring us to run. And we did, and we were able to do it, which is something that we had not seen yet this year. When we wanted to run the ball, we could, which was basically all game. So I don't know. I think what I don't know is again like what will Auburn try to do, right? So will we see the deep ball? Like will we take some deep shots? Totally new staff from last year, so I can sit here and think, well, Stetson lit him up last year, but I don't think that really means anything at this point. So I don't know. It'll be another one of those pick your poison, right? At this point, we've seen the Georgia offense now be able to overcome kind of either tactic, right? Of try to drop back into coverage and stop the pass, or load up the line and try to stop the run. We've seen them being able to navigate around both of those. I think also like the Stetson's ability to run and to have the zone read be a true zone read and not just a zone give. The defense has to respect his wheels. I think will be helpful as well.
Yeah. So I think that this is going to be one of those situations where when I looked at this like post Arkansas, I was like, Sunday I was just trying to get ahead and take a look at some stuff with Auburn, which is probably part of the reason I mentioned Auburn in the review.
That's okay. That's okay.
But I think that statistically, Arkansas very much kind of layered up with Auburn from a defensive standpoint. I felt like, their defense from a passing perspective is actually pretty weak. They're actually in like the bottom half of the SEC in terms of they're ranked number 9th in yards per game from a passing defense standpoint. Our ability to move the ball on them is ultimately going to come down to how good do we think their rushing ranking is. So their rushing defense right now is number 2 in the SEC from a yards per game standpoint. So we're number 1, obviously, and they're number 2. They're giving up 86 yards on the ground per game, which tells me that they have a pretty stout defense, right? On paper, that lines up. But then when you peel back the layers of that onion and you go back and look at the teams that they've played, it's going to come down this way on the other side as well. Our defense versus their offense, and maybe that could be a caveat. But they've played Akron, they've played Alabama State, they've played Georgia State, they've played a hapless LSU. And then they played the number 4 team in the country, Penn State, which, by the way, they also lost to. So, like, that resume is nowhere near the resume that Georgia has. So, like, on paper, we haven't seen a defense like this yet this season, but they for sure haven't seen a defense that's as battle-tested as our team at all this season. And they probably won't until they get to the Iron Bowl.
Yeah.
So
I just had to look up because I was blanking on their defensive coordinator, and it's Derek Mason. So the former Vanderbilt coach. I knew that, but I was blanking on it. So, which he's a good he's a good solid defensive mind. So
I think that we can all kind of remember some of those slow start games against Vanderbilt. I think didn't he beat Kirby at one point?
Yeah, that was in Kirby's first season. So in 2016. Yeah.
I couldn't remember if he was still there or not. So I think that our offense, if we can move the ball, so here's what I'll say about our offense versus their defense, and then we can go and talk about our defense, their offense.
Yeah.
So it's ultimately going to come down to there actually looks like that there might be more opportunity for us through the air, because you look at their passing defense and it's awful. Like, I mean, by all intents and purposes, they're awful on defense. Considering who they've played, like if you were to look at this thing and go to a, like opponent adjusted metric. Like
Right.
this is not good. So if Stetson were to go out and throw for 213 yards, how do you think we're due?
Oh yeah, yeah, I'm good with that.
Because that's how much they're averaging through the air. They're giving up almost 68% completion percentage, and they're conceding 213 yards through the air from a passing perspective.
Okay.
So I would take those numbers all day long because we're averaging 238 yards a game passing,
Yeah.
which obviously a good chunk of that is going to be Stetson or is going to be JT, who's also not going to be playing. So those numbers are a little skewed, but like my point is that I think that Stetson may have some areas of opportunity to actually move the ball through the air and set up the run, because I believe that Auburn is going to make us beat them with Stetson's arm.
Yeah, I agree. I do think that's what they'll try to do. Again, like thinking of Derek Mason, I could definitely see that being, his mindset being, this is Georgia, right, and we're not going to let them run on us, kind of deal. Especially after what we did last week, right? And you say that about like a lot of that is JT, and the funny thing is too, like I mean, like he didn't have gaudy numbers against Clemson, right? So that's probably skewing things there a bit. And then Stetson obviously put up crazy numbers against UAB. But yeah, I do also think like with Washington as well. So I don't know how much you like if you went back and watched the game at all anymore, but again, Washington didn't have an impact as far as like he was never targeted in the passing game. But again, we only threw 11 times. But he was definitely impactful in the run game, right? So I think that's another thing, like bringing back to help the run. And then again, here, if that's what they're keying up on, you've got a two tight end set with Washington and Bowers in, and then again then let's pick your poison, right? Those two guys go out for a route. Love to see a bit of that. I have full faith in Todd Monken to have a plan. And again, like we've said, I think this year we've got the guys to be able to execute his plan. So,
Agreed. I I think that we will probably try to run the ball, because I think much like what we saw with Arkansas, if we don't have to throw the ball, we're not going to. Is basically the point. So we're probably going to come out there and try to establish the run, and if that doesn't work, then they're going to switch and try to go through the air to set up the run, because they're going to want to get back to running the ball as quickly as possible. If they're able to shut down our run, I think that we end up in a much closer game than what you and I would probably want, but we're going to pull away late. I don't know. I'm thinking the under on this game, but I do think it will be a comfortable win.
Okay. So what do you see? Actually, do you want to lead off for our defense, their offense, with the question we got from Greg? Yeah, so he said, I'll just read it. So he said, this is Greg, Mountain to the Seas on Twitter. Interested to get your thoughts on how a balanced Auburn offense approaches a Georgia defense that has allowed an average of 4.6 points per game through 5 games. Then he gave his thoughts. His guess is they will try to slow the game down and try to grind it out in the ground behind Tank Bigsby, and just point out that Auburn is relatively young at wide receiver.
So here's what I think is ultimately going to happen. We have a gentleman by the name of Jordan Davis on the defensive line. We have Devontae Wyatt. We have Adam Anderson. There's no way they're going to be moving the ball on the ground. They may get some yards here and there. I think that we've played better running backs, in my opinion, to thus far. But I don't think that they're going to be able to move the ball on us from an offensive side of things, but running the ball. So ultimately, I think that we're going to take the same approach where we're going to make Bo Nix beat us. So, and then this is where things get a little bit interesting from an analytical numbers kind of standpoint. So if you look at their passing offense, right? So their passing offense, if I were to tell you that Auburn's going to complete 56% of their passes and their average yards per attempt is going to be 6.8 yards, how do you think that turns out for us?
I feel like that turns out good for us.
Exactly. So they're not horrible passing the ball. They're ranked 6th right now, which Georgia is ranked 7th. We're basically identical from a yards per game standpoint. The big differentiator between us from a passing team, and the difference between us and them is that these stats on Auburn's side of things largely represent Bo Nix, their starter, right? It would not surprise me.
Although he didn't start the LSU game, right? I forget the LSU transfer kid.
But of the 170,
Nick's finished. He finished the game, right?
Of the 176 attempts that Auburn has taken, 147 of them have been Bo Nix.
Yeah.
So most of these stats are going to be compiled by him. 210 yards is short. So really, if you look at it, the numbers pretty similar with him and JT, but from a yards perspective. But where you get difference is 56% completion percentage, which tells me that he's not very accurate, particularly when you factor in the fact that there are only passing average yards per attempt is 7 yards, 6.8 yards per attempt. So they're barely throwing the ball, basically. They're not throwing it down the field, that's for sure. In order to beat our team, I think that you're going to have to be pushing the ball much further down the field. Like Arkansas previously, they're averaging almost 10 yards per attempt. Ole Miss is averaging just as many yards as we are, from just over 9 yards per attempt. Alabama is over 9 yards per attempt. So like these teams that you would think of as being like, passing offenses, are not really. We're throwing the ball a lot more than Bo Nix is, and we're passing it with much more accuracy. So the point is like, if they're balanced and they're throwing the ball just as many times as they're running it, that means for every series, two of those plays are most likely going to be passes. If you're only completing 56% of those, like I like our chances across the board on the rest of it. Does that make sense? So
yeah, it does. And I mean, I feel like what you're trying to say is like run the dang ball, Bobo. Is that what you're trying to say?
I'm gonna say try to run the ball, dang Bobo, because sure it doesn't look like you're gonna have a whole lot of success throwing it, particularly with the fact that LSU was chasing Bo Nix all night long. He was literally running for his life, and the only reason that they were able to win is because he threw up a ball, which I'm not even sure was meant for Fromm. So I don't know, man. I just think our defense is going to run this guy ragged.
So it's funny that you mentioned Fromm. Like it is like there are a lot of Georgia connections on the offensive side of the ball that Auburn has, right? So you've got Jake Fromm's brother is a tight end. You've got Mike Bobo is the offensive coordinator, and then we've got Demetrius Robertson, D-Rob. Is over there as a receiver now, which I know, Kirby did get asked about him today. It's interesting, right? I mean, he left for playing time, and if he'd stayed, I think he would be playing. I mean, you can't predict injuries and everything, but neither here nor there. It's not like he's second in receptions on the team, but not second in yardage. He's one? He's like their fourth leading receiver yardage wise. So it'll be interesting to see. I can't. Who was it? John Tweets he was talking to us about how like that the Auburn offense is like literally balanced. Like it's like literally 50% run, 50% pass.
And that's why I was saying like that. Yeah. If you're gonna take three snaps, 2 of them are passes, 2 of them are rushes, whatever. Like, and you're completing 56% of your passes on those throwing plays.
Right.
And meanwhile, you're going up against a running defense that's giving up less than 3 yards a carry. Like, are you kidding me? Like the numbers just bear out that this is going to be a long night on the plains for them.
Yeah. I mean, we've seen Bo Nix before, right? So this is the third time we played him. And I mean, what we saw last year, right? Like, I remember being frustrated in the game against them last year with him because he kept just like running around in circles behind the line of scrimmage. But ultimately, it was like a lot of running for nothing,
right?
And then like nothing would end up really happening. And like you're saying, right? Like he heaves some up against LSU and it ended up working. But LSU's defense is nothing like our defense. I mean, you rattle off the names, right? So, like, it's one thing to run around, to try and attempt to run around in the backfield like that. It's another thing when you got Adam Anderson and Nolan Smith and Nakobe Dean and, not to mention Jordan Davis, you're right, chasing you down. So, ultimately, yeah, I agree. I think it matches up. And I think it's one of those things where, like, if you look at the matchup on paper, just to reiterate your point from earlier, right? Like, our statistics, our numbers, if you look at like Georgia next to Auburn, are somewhat similar. But when it's who have they played, right? Like, if you look at the level of competition, it's definitely not the same. Like, they've racked up their offensive numbers against the teams with much lesser defenses than Georgia. So,
Auburn ain't played anybody, Paul.
Right. Auburn ain't played nobody. I think, are you trying to say that Auburn sucks?
Please tell me you have a soundboard for this.
Yeah. Let's go, Aaron. What we do? I like driving in my truck. He likes to drive in his truck. Auburn sucks.
Oh,
Auburn
yeah.
Sucks. I like driving in my truck. He likes to drive in his truck. Auburn sucks. Auburn sucks. I like trucks. He likes trucks. I don't care for Auburn.
I don't care for Auburn.
Doesn't care for Auburn.
Yes.
I mean, we couldn't have an Auburn preview without that. So.
Especially since we dropped the GIF. Good old T-Pain.
Yeah. Legendary. So, I had something jotted down on special teams. If we're done with that side of the ball, I did something we didn't talk about. Like, loved all the field goal attempts that we got. Like, I know while it was frustrating, I guess at times or whatever. Like, you want to score touchdowns, but it was nice to see Jack Pod hit all those field goals last week against Arkansas from various distances, and also like some from the center of the field, some from a hash. So that was nice. So he has, I don't know. Hopefully, he has found his groove. So there's that. I don't know. That was the kind of worry for a bit there. But glad to see that seems to be back on track. Definitely need to clean up the what was it, like 3 times we had like a illegal formation on a punt. So
yeah,
that wasn't great. I imagine that'll be cleaned up this week.
You'd hope. One would hope.
Yeah.
Nothing necessarily sticking out on the. I think the only scenario that I would get nervous on is if we need points from a deep field goal kind of thing. But other than that, I mean, Jake Camarda has been pretty effective for us.
That's true. Yeah, he's been a weapon bunting, right? I mean, I think you seriously have to think about him as a Ray Guy candidate. I'm sure he's on the watch list, right?
Yeah, I'm sure if such things exist so early in the season.
Yeah. Well, there's definitely the preseason list. I don't know if they've updated it yet. You want to hit some listener questions?
Let's go into the listener questions that we got here.
All right. First one comes from Vidal Fan 05. What is the best Georgia Auburn moment in your opinion? And then similar question from the birthday boy, Bobby Wilson. He just wanted to have maybe a little bit of reminiscing of big dog wins there in the past, there being at Auburn. He said, like David Green's come from behind touchdown pass from Michael Johnson in 2002 to clinch the SEC East title. So I will say the funny thing about Bobby's is I saw, Vidal's question first, and that was going to be mine. So I don't know if it's okay to still stick with that 2002 game. That was there's personal reasons. A lot of that is personal. Like I was there. That was my redshirt senior year. That was my extra semester in college. We won the SEC championship, for the first time, SEC championship game for the first time ever that year. That game was the clincher. I was in the stadium. I was with Kim. We were in the front row where the students were sitting in the opposite end zone of where Michael Johnson caught it. So we were field level in the other end zone, so we could hardly see what was going on in the other end zone, but we saw the ref's hands go up, so we knew he caught it, or that someone caught it. We were there with Woody, who we saw at the Clemson game. We were there with a friend of the show, Tim Riley, was sitting with us. Tim and my wife, well, she wasn't my wife then, but Tim and Kim both got on TV, actually, right at the end there. The CBS camera went, Tim was right in the middle, and then Kim comes running in from off screen. It's pretty funny. And then we have a framed picture in our house. So we win the game. It's awesome. We're all celebrating. All the players came over and gave high fives, by the way. So we high fived everyone. But we didn't stay the night in Auburn, so we drove back to to Atlanta. I remember the next morning, college, right? It's I'm sleeping in. My parents come into my room and wake me up. And they're like, Jim, wake up. I'm like, what? And they show me the newspaper. And the front of the AJC sports page was Michael Johnson catching the ball. Then when you opened it up, the inside of the article, huge picture, and right in the middle, it's me and Kim, right there, hands up. So there was an AJC photographer. I remember it. There was a photographer who took a picture. And I remember seeing this guy take the picture because we all posed for it. We all held up number one, at the camera or whatever. And it turns out it was an AJC reporter. So that picture was in the AJC. It was in Mark Schlabaugh's book about the season called Destiny's Dogs. I'll find it. I'll put it out on the socials after this episode drops. So that was a special moment. And like I said, we've got that newspaper framed in our house with both of it. Now, Kim will never let me live down the fact that, I had a shaker or a pom-pom, if you will, in my hand, and it's kind of halfway covering her face in the picture. So to this day, she does not let me live that one down. But
the face.
So that's it for me. That's it for me. And if you'll bear with me,
crowd roars at us. 3 wideouts. Man, we've had some shots, haven't we? Snap to David Green. There he goes in the corner again, and we jump up. Touchdown! Oh, God, a touchdown! In the corner. With 85 seconds, somebody went up high. Was it Watson or Gibson? Michael Johnson up high. We're trying to put glasses on it.
And that is where trying to put glasses on it comes from. Man, late career Munson was such a legend. I love him.
Yeah.
So good.
I would say that as a moment, that absolutely is the moment for me.
Yeah.
But personally, I don't remember where I was. I mean, I know that I watched it on TV, but I don't have any kind of recollection of that specific moment, watching it. I did know, although I did notice, friend of the podcast, George Foster, in the celebration video, of the aftermath, you can see him running into the camera with his, I guess he had a club on or something. I'm not sure.
Yeah, he had broke his hand or something that year. Yeah.
I imagine that he would have an interesting perspective on that particular moment in time as well, just like he did with the Tennessee one.
Yeah.
I was curious, like watching it. I was curious who Johnson gave the ball to. He gave the ball to someone. Was it like his dad or something? Like I don't know.
Like over on the sideline?
Yeah, after he scores, he runs off and he's holding onto the ball and he hands it to someone on the sideline. I'm not familiar with who he handed it to.
Oh, I'll have to watch it back. I don't know. I should know because, like I pointed out to Bobby, like that was the video that I made. I mean, granted, like I got it from, I grabbed it from some VHS tape I had.
Right.
Yeah, I did not rewatch the whole thing. I don't know. It could have been like the wide receiver coach, maybe, or something. I don't know. Like maybe they wanted to
Tony
keep the
ball
ball
or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the other moment that I have is I have two. So obviously the blackout was
Yep.
the original blackout was Auburn, and that was like a truly phenomenal game. I wasn't there, but I do remember like watching the game. Like, holy crap, this stadium is going to absolutely explode. You were there though, right?
I was there. I'm trying to think of who all was there. I mean, it's definitely with my dad and the Diener. The Diener from the Bulldog blog was with me for that game. Yeah, man, that game. Talk about loud and like loud from something that like in the grand scheme of things doesn't matter or whatever. But that's where like you say uniforms don't matter. There are videos on YouTube. I would definitely suggest looking them up where like the crowd reactions, like when they came out of the tunnel. It was pretty funny. It's pretty crazy. So
yeah, I remember watching it and being like, oh my God, they did it.
yeah, for sure.
They warmed up in red and came out in black. That was a really cool moment. And then the other moment that I have, just from a personal note from 06, I remember this is the one that I actually have like a anecdote for. Is I watched this game with our buddy Cord Marlowe at a bar in Buckhead with one of his best friends from high school who went to Auburn, and a couple other guys at a bar in Buckhead. And I remember that they talked so much trash for the entire year that game went down. And then we got to the game and they were still talking trash and just jawing and jawing and jawing. They were ranked number 5 or something like that. They were high.
They were really high. Yeah.
They were high. And we were unranked, as I recall. Anyway, Trey Battle had a game for the ages in that game. And he had like 3 interceptions, and there's that one interception that he had where he just supermaned into the end zone, which is just so awesome. I feel like he leapt from the 10-yard line and just flew into the end zone. And I just remember the Auburn alumni, CB Brennan, shout out if you're listening. He was just so dejected and just so upset. Like you could just see it in his face. Like, and I just never let him live it down. Like I just never let him live it down. He talked so much trash.
We like ruined their season with that game.
Yeah.
That's one of those ones where like, you're not having a great season, but it was the start of something pretty good, right? Like the next season was amazing. But when it's late in the season like that, yeah, we totally like dashed their hopes. That was a good one for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I've got some other ones, but I think we could leave it at that. We'll have more Auburn episodes, in the future, right? So I don't want to go into all of mine. So those are some good ones. Those are some good ones for sure.
I don't mind going into those moments. I don't mind going into those moments every single time.
Let's see. John tweets sports. Has Auburn played anybody? And I think we've determined that Paul, they ain't played nobody.
I was waiting for you to queue up his audio clip that he sent us.
Oh man, why didn't I do that? I do have just this though. Just reminder.
Auburn Soul.
Yes. Auburn ain't played anybody, Paul.
So good. Let's see, Bassin Dog. Did Bo Nix lock down the Heisman with his Manziel-like 27-second scramble? He did not. He did not.
He did not.
What's the like the internet meme that's like Bo Nix has really come a long way. Like he's developed. Like I think this is the year he might be a dark horse for the Heisman. Like there's like this like tweet that gets recycled all the time. I can't recite from memory. Have you never seen that?
No,
you haven't seen that.
No,
right,
I don't think so.
Now I got to look it up. Hold on.
Barrett Silly, this is the year. Bo Nix has improved so much under this new offense. He's focused. He's having fun. I wouldn't be surprised if he's a dark horse for the Heisman.
Yeah, but that was originally from. Was Barrett Silly the one that said it originally? That's because like now at this point, like people just quote it. Like so, I don't know where it came from first.
Brandon Marcello, I'm not sure.
Yeah, that's what I found was that guy. So okay. I don't know who that is. I'm not down. I don't have all the knowledge of the Auburn beat. But yes, anyways, that's the quote. That was the one that I was thinking of. So made me think of that. I don't know. And now we need to do like research on the origin story for that meme. We'll research that in the background, and maybe we'll have the answer by the end. Let's see, Fletcher Proctor. Auburn is clearly the little brother in the state of Alabama, but is it the best little brother in the country? Historically, who would be the best? Arizona State, Michigan State, Virginia or Virginia Tech, South Carolina. And then he asks, who is the state of Florida's little brother and who is the state of California's little brother? So to explain, if you think about like the state of Georgia, obviously Georgia is the big brother and Georgia Tech is the little brother. So like applying that logic, who is the best like historically? I mean, of the ones that were rattled off, I would lean towards Auburn across that list. I mean, Auburn considering they're a little brother, that's a pretty successful program. I mean, I know they're very like Jekyll and Hyde, right? Like they're kind of all or nothing. But when they hit on those big years, they go pretty far, if not all the way. So I would say Auburn. I don't know. Like, I can't think of anyone that I'd put over them. Certainly not Arizona State or Michigan State or Virginia Tech. I wouldn't put any of them over Auburn.
So we're talking about in-state rival, little brother.
Basically, like the team that's playing second fiddle.
South Carolina's got to be in there.
Yeah. But they're not. But who's the best historically across the country? Who's the best little brother? Like I won't. Like you're not going to put South Carolina over Auburn. You're not going to put. I wouldn't put any of those other schools either. I think Auburn's correct. But these two, the Florida one is certainly fun. It's a fun question. Who is the little brother of Florida, of the state of Florida? Because you think about it, I mean, I kind of think of Florida as more like, I guess, triplets or whatever. Or there's three brothers. It's not just big and little. So you got, Florida, Florida State, and Miami are the biggest ones. So that's one that where like it certainly depends, right? Because like, if you ask a Florida fan, like football didn't exist prior to 1990. So if you only include 1990 going forward, I don't think it would be Florida. Right now, though, I don't know. I mean, there's two L's in Florida, and there was 4 L's in Florida last year, so hard to say.
They're certainly trending that way.
Yeah.
Trending.
I guess you would have to say Florida State right now. Right now, like maybe not historically, but right now, I think Florida State's the little brother.
Yeah, I would say historically it would probably have been Florida, but
yeah. And then for state of California, I have no idea. I mean, there's like so many schools.
It's got to be Stanford, right?
Yeah. Because I mean, like it's not It's certainly not USC, right? So you got USC, UCLA. I don't know, Stanford. I mean, I don't think you would count like Fresno State or San Diego State or any of those. I mean, to me, it's USC, UCLA, Stanford, I guess, unless I'm forgetting. I'm sure I'm forgetting someone. We'll go Stanford. That works. And they make up for it with their intellect. So that's okay. All right. Next question comes from Alex Berger. Hey, guys. Looks like Tech can only win at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. Love that. Also, Dan Mullen said he didn't think he got out-coached on Saturday. would you agree that's a horse of a different color? So did you see that? Like what Dan Mullen's comment?
Yeah, his comment was we outgained them or something like that.
Yeah, they had more yards, so clearly he wasn't outcoached.
Yeah, yeah, dude.
He's a clown.
I made the clown gif for a reason.
Yeah, for sure.
Dude, you got outcoached. I would go so far as to say that it didn't look like he even wanted to win that game. Like his body language, his demeanor, like he just looked like he had no answers. He looked like he is a coach that's on the way out, frankly. And the way that he was smiling after that, and we mentioned it on the podcast last time, but like, the way that he was smiling afterwards just looked so like psychotic.
It did look. It looked very weird. I just haven't been focused on it, but before at some point, I need to talk to some of my buddies. I mean, I do have. I've got a neighbor friend of mine that I say he's my favorite Florida fan. I'll have to check in with him and see how he's feeling about Mullen. I know he liked him initially, but I gotta feel that's changing a bit. Alex also added, also, Jim, did you get sunburned like I did? Granted, I was closer to the heavens than you were on Saturday. So Alex sits in the same section as I do. he sits back behind me. And I will say this. I am currently sunburned. Whether my sunburn is from attending the Georgia-Arkansas game or from attending Lily's soccer game Sunday morning, I'm not sure. I think it was from Lily's soccer game, though. So, but I definitely I am sunburned. Let's see. All right, next question from Salty Dog. Salty Dog is the name, but handle rather be fishing 5. So I like that one. How much longer until Dan Jackson, number 47, is put on scholarship?
I would probably say not before the end of the season.
Yeah, I would think it would definitely be a potential off-season move. I mean, the guy, I think he's earned it with his play thus far. I mean, he's stepped up. We saw him. I had never heard of him until the G-Day game this year. So, and then he had the pick in the G-Day game. And I mean, he's stepped up. I remember for sure, like in the aftermath of Clemson game, I remember Graham Coffey talking up a lot when he was doing his film analysis, like the guys on Clemson that he was matched up with, and covering them, doing a good job. So yeah, I mean, he had the punt block against Arkansas, but he's also played he's played meaningful snaps, I would say, on defense, which has been a pleasant surprise. So yeah, I wouldn't be shocked to see it happen in the offseason, but I would agree. Probably not before then. All right. Next one from John Michael D. Are we more likely to see the Dogs lose or see Uga try to bite an Auburn player?
I think we're more likely to see Uga try to bite an Auburn player naked.
So, and that was that play. Do we say play? That was the GIF that was used when we solicited listener questions today. So I don't know. That may have been a little inception for John. But do you remember pop quiz? Do you know what year that happened in?
What year that happened in?
Yeah, that Uga tried to bite an Auburn player.
Was it 90? Is it in the 90s?
It was in the 90s. Yep.
96?
Ding, ding, ding.
Yeah.
Well done. Yeah, it was 96. It was that was Donan's first season. Yeah, that was like so a lot of stuff happened. And so that was like Auburn was actually up pretty big when that happened. That play, like the guy had just scored a touchdown. I'm pretty sure, right? And then it was like in the end zone when it happened. And they were up. We ended up coming back. That was the first ever SEC overtime game, actually. Went to I think it was 5 overtimes. In the old rules, right? Like that kind of stuff doesn't happen anymore now. But yeah.
I like the old rules.
Oh, yeah, I agree. I don't like the new way either. All right. Pain Dog at C6Pain on Twitter. Great Arkansas review episode, guys. Loved the segment with the kids. We did too, except that they lie. So, but we'll move on.
It was the darndest things.
I know, right? Like it was legit. That's what I was saying. Okay, how many wheel routes did we see Munkin dial up this week? Over under set at 2.5, which I feel like we did not give justice to the wheel route that McIntosh caught in our Arkansas review. It was a thing of beauty, and definitely tweeted out wheel route when it happened. But you can only have so many wheel routes in a game, so I'm going to say under if it's 2.5.
Yeah, I'm gonna set it under.
Okay. And then also just a comment from Pain Dog. He says, also, my wife is an Auburn fan, so house divided this week. Tough scene. I don't know how you can deal with these things.
Some of us make poor decisions in life. I'm sure she's a wonderful woman, though.
I don't know. Maybe she knows a friend of the show, Megan, who we had on last year. Who she's also in a house divided. Her husband Jay went to Alabama, so they have like the ultimate house divided. It's pretty incredible how they're functional, but they enjoy making fun of each other a lot, so it works.
I don't know. I don't know how these people can deal with this. I couldn't deal with it. If it's one thing if you had like a passive fan, like, yeah, I went to Auburn and I don't really care or whatever, or they went to Auburn or went to wherever, Georgia Tech or whatever, but they wear the UGA gear, that kind of stuff. Like I could see that.
Right.
But if I was married to someone that was passionate about another opposing team, I don't know that I would be able to stand it. It would not be a very happy situation for me.
I mean, I would like end up doing something stupid. Like I would get myself like I am, well, I mean, apparently, like Lily says that I yell at her during games, which again, not true. But I am like, I mean, I am super passionate about it, and I totally would say something stupid. Yeah. So, Pain Dog, like, more power to you. I feel like I don't know. I'm impressed that you can like not get in the doghouse, so to speak. I would like permanently, at least like in the fall, I would be like permanent doghouse because I would say something totally dumb.
I feel like these are like, I feel like there's a whole Twitter audience out there of houses divided with strategies on how to make it through marriages. Such a thing, because I'm poorly equipped to provide such advice.
We have discovered yet another Twitter. So we've got Bourbon Twitter, we've got Sauce Twitter, now we've got House Divided Twitter. And House Divided Twitter can be very broad because it can be divided in multiple ways, but they can still like commiserate with each other. So I feel like there's a market. I feel like there's a market for this.
For sure.
All right, UGA Hoops Mafia. How many sacks do the Dogs get in total this weekend? And who individually gets the most? You want? I'll set the over under. I'm going to set it over under here on total sacks at. I was going to say 3.5.
3.5. I'm going to take the under. I'll take the under on that one.
Due to Bo Nix's just running around in circles everywhere and just running backwards.
They're not going to hold on to the ball.
I feel like maybe 3. What if I set it at 2.5? I feel like 3 is the number. I feel like 3 is what I think that'll be total. I'll just say that. That's the actual answer to his question.
What is it? 3?
Yeah, I think we'll have 3 sacks.
We're averaging 3.6.
So I feel like 3 is good. I'll go with 3.
Like 3 is good. Yeah, 3 is good.
Individually, who will have the most sacks of Bo Nix?
My money would be on. Money would probably be. You answer first.
Adam Anderson.
Dang it! Once again, we agree.
So, like, I mean, I started to go like defensive linemen because like they have been so good lately, but I just feel like, and I want to say Anderson sacked Nix multiple times last year, or there was the one where like he clearly sacked him, but they like credited Nix with an incomplete pass because he like did some weird shovel pass thing. So So, yeah, I'm going to go with Adam Anderson.
Adam Anderson leads the team in sacks, so fairly safe bet there.
Oh, so I went the safe route. That's okay. I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah.
All right, now let's get into some more predictions because now it's time for Coach Trillbill's over-unders.
Coach Trillbill. I feel like we need a little soundboard for him.
We do.
It's the weekly segment.
We need something there. We'll have to figure it out. We'll have to look around for one. We may not have to.
Trying to put glasses on it.
We'll put some glasses on it and figure out what it could be. All right. Times Aaron Murray mentions playing Auburn in college. Over under set at 5.5.
5.5. Ooh, that would be a lot of mentions for playing Auburn.
But Aaron Murray played them. You know, he played them multiple times.
I'll go.
I guess he played them what?
The
Played
under.
twice.
I'll go with the
Under 5.5. All right, I'll take the over just to
be
disagree.
different.
Okay, over under highlights of Gus teams. So highlights of Auburn teams coached by Gus Malzahn. I'm assuming this means, and he set the over under at 6.5. I'm leaning towards the over because we're going to see, there could definitely be some days of yore kind of things like in the intro, right? Like, when they do the intro thing.
Are we counting all the clips of Bo Nix and Tank Bigsley from last year?
I like that you just changed his name to Tank Bigsley. Bigsby.
Right? Bigsby.
It was close.
Sorry.
It was close enough. Yeah, I count that. That was a Gus Malzahn team.
Yeah, I mean, I would take the over on that one then.
All right, I'll take the over.
I'm sure there'll be some clips.
No, we will not be tallying these. So, Coach Trillbill, if you want to check us on this, you're going to have to do that.
You're going to have to QA it yourself. That's funny.
I guess this one matches up. So maybe I may have stolen my over-under line for Pain Dog's question from Coach Trillbill. Team sacks over-under set at 3.5. So you're taking the under.
I'm taking the under. You're taking the over.
Said I'll take the over. I said I think it'll be 3, but I'm still going to take the over to disagree with you.
If you take if I'm rooting for the over because if we hit the over,
sure. Well, obviously our picks do not impact our rooting interests, right? Like we're very much like David Pollock in that sense, as he claims. Although he has started to pick us now these days, I've noticed. But anyways, he's got an over/under points scored, which his over/under for points scored is very different from Vegas.
Yeah, the Vegas line is what, 45?
Vegas is
45.
Did I not? It's 45. Okay. I got it 46 from OddsShark. That's what I looked earlier. Maybe it changed. Sometimes it changes while we record.
It did change. It went up. It went up since I opened this tab earlier this afternoon.
Okay, yeah, so it's at 46. So much lower. So at Coach Trillbill's of, was it 30.5, I said? I'll take the over. Unless he means Georgia points scored. I don't know. Now look at me. I'm asking clarifying questions.
I don't know, man. Stetson in play. I don't know that we hit the over on this one. I'm going to go under.
Okay. Yeah, we'll answer it for just Georgia. I'm going to be giving away my prediction if I get into it. I'll say the under as well if we're talking just Georgia.
Are you predicting a shutout or something?
No. I was saying if it's Georgia points scored versus the total points scored. Oh, the shutout would be amazing. Three SEC shutouts in a row. Then we'll be asking, Jeff Dantzler and Patrick Garvin when's the last time that happened, because we know 2 in a row. The last time was 1980. And then he said, and one for old time's sake. So this is Coach Trillbill's last one. Do we or do we not see Uga biting the Auburn player in the pregame intro montage.
For sure.
Agreed. 100%. That's like, that's my lock of the week. That's my lock of the week on the Coach Trillbill over-unders is Ugga biting. Robert Baker, I believe, was the receiver. And, that's when we found out that Ugga was a drug dog because, like, that guy got arrested for, like, cocaine trafficking a couple years later.
Amazing.
All right. Now we will move into the final predictions for the game itself. So we were just touching on the odd shark stuff. So again, for the lines, Georgia is favored by 14.5 points, and the over/under is set at 46. So, you want to talk through this a bit? You want to go? You want me to go?
I want to hear your thoughts.
Okay, I've been wavering on this a lot. I was like really high, like easy cover, blow them out. Even knowing like that we're not going to have JT. I mean, I'll say, I guess I shouldn't say knowing, assuming that we're not going to have JT, right? The only thing that like creeped into my head today was just like the whole like, they say like you're not as bad as you think you are after a loss, but you're also not as good as you think you are after a win. And I was so high coming off of Saturday, but I'll say too though, I feel like by the end of the season that may be pretty warranted. Time will tell, but I think Arkansas is good, right? I don't think they're a bad team. Like I think Arkansas is a good team. They may not have been, worthy of their top 10 ranking, but it's early in the season. It's hard to get this stuff right at this point. I think they're good. I think they're a solid team. I think they probably were the best team we've played, right? And we took it seriously and we shut them down. So the question now becomes like, is this Auburn team the best team we've played, right? And I'm not sure. I don't know, right? We're gonna find out a lot about Auburn on Saturday. They've lost their only real test, in the game at Penn State. You rattle off their opponents earlier, and as we know, Auburn ain't played nobody, or Auburn ain't beat nobody for sure, right? So I mean, I'm confident in a win. I am not super confident in Bo Nix. I feel like we kind of know what he is at this point. Yes, he has some crazy pass attempts without an interception streak coming into this game. It's up over 200. It's the second longest streak in Auburn history for pass attempts without an interception.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, but you know who owns the longest streak? Bo Nix. And when did that end? Against Georgia last year. It ends again on Saturday. We're going to end his streak again 2 years in a row. I believe that.
If he throws the ball around like he did against LSU, for sure. Yeah.
So I mean, shocking. I'm gonna take Georgia. I'm with you on. I think it'll be a little bit lower scoring. I'm gonna say it'll be the under. But I do think we'll cover. So I'm going to go Georgia wins 28-10.
28-10. Okay. So that's the under, right?
That's the under, yeah, because the over-under was, I already forgot it.
46.
It's 46. So I've got only 38 points being scored.
So I'm going 37-9.
Okay.
So I'm kind of right on a push.
We love to push. We love to push on My God Podcast. Last week I tried to push on something that was set at a half. I forgot what it was.
So I don't think that they get any offensive touchdowns. I believe that they kick the field goals.
Okay.
That's my prediction, that we carry on our no rushing touchdowns, and
Yep.
no offensive touchdowns.
Yeah, I mean, I would give them more. I mean, I know, I guess like this other kid is their leading rusher, but Tank Bigsby clearly is not fully healthy, and he's a good back. So I don't know. I like our chances. I mean, ultimately, I think you said it right. Like I had said that it's the best Georgia defense that we've seen. I think you kind of went into like it's probably the best Georgia defense anyone's seen, and I mean, I don't have anything that I can say to dispute that to this point. It's this defense is elite, as we say. So, what's your? Well, I'll say mine. I didn't realize until like today actually. Lily has no soccer on Saturday, so I'm gonna be wide open. I may be like. Kim may have to like peel me off the couch at some point because I think I'm gonna like sit and watch football like all day on Saturday.
a worthless human being.
I mean, like because there's like 3 games at noon, and then we're at 3:30. I mean, it's going all day. And then you got although Bama A&M is probably gonna be a snoozer. So the doubleheader did not work out well for CBS this year. But yeah, so what do you know what your viewing situation is going to be like yet?
So Carter has a game at 10:30 in the morning. I believe that's going to be his only game based on the schedule that they sent out today.
Okay.
He may have another game, but I'm not sure when. Yeah, it looks like we have a game at 10:30 over. I think it's in Woodstock. I'm not sure, which is not too far. So I should be wide open for this game. So I should be well established. Looks like the weather here is going to be 78 degrees ish. So
yeah,
might be outdoor TV watching weather. We'll see.
I've got a decision, and you're gonna like make fun of me on this, but so back to when we had the kids on, Lily was making the joke about me like jumping in what she called the loft. So we have like a finished room in our attic, and I made it I think we've talked about this, right? Like one of our COVID projects, like I turned it into a movie theater. So like I put up a screen and I hung a projector. I don't like to watch like streaming stuff on it, like live streaming. But with this game being on CBS, I can watch it through the antenna. So I'm gonna have to make a call. Do I want to watch it on the projector, or do I want to watch it outside? So that'll probably that will be my game time decision. Watching definitely like the ambiance outside, and then I can just stay out there and light a fire for the night games and make s'mores and stuff. So we'll see.
You would think that the kids would want you outside so that they could watch whatever they wanted inside.
Yeah, that's true. They want to watch like trash, like My Little Pony or Barbie movies because that's what they do. They watch this stuff and they're like, we're reminiscing. I'm like, you're 12 and you're 15. You're reminiscing. Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah. Seriously.
Anyway.
So it's supposed to be raining. It's supposed to be raining in Atlanta like all week this week. Like it's just rain. So I'm gonna be like ready to hopefully hit it outside.
Yeah, it's like that, like everywhere. That was one of the things that I did look up. I mentioned the weather in Auburn on Saturday. I did look that up. It looks like all that storms and stuff is supposed to be over by the weekend. So that's good. So, all right. Well, hey, if we're both free, I'm sure we'll be lighting each other's phones up with text messages during the game. We'll be back to that as usual. So.
Absolutely. Well,
all right. Ready for the latest installment of the Deep South's oldest rivalry on Saturday. Another game to watch on TV. I've been to a bunch of games this year, so this is only the second on TV for me. So, yeah, man, looking forward to it. Looking for a full slate of college football on Saturday.
Let's get full tilt at the loveliest little village on the plains.
Love it.
Go Dogs.
Go Dogs.